Hey guys, what is going on? This is Daaro DS and welcome back. Welcome back to more of Witch on the Holy Night. And yeah, today we're getting things done and we're going to continue on from where we left up on chapter 2. Pretty much the last time we were on the side stories. It took us over an hour and a half. Holy smokes, an hour and a half to get done. And it was a long episode. Probably the longest episode of the series that you'll probably see. Maybe. But it was really good. But we're heading on to the next chapter. And let us get going on this as soon as possible. Let's get going. What happened yesterday? As we're going to move on to the next episode. As this is chapter number 2. Or episode number 2, whatever you like to call it. The city is a strange place. However, once you get used to it, life there should be pretty easy. Yes! Souichirou let out a listless sigh and stared down at the winter schoolyard. It was unusual for him to get lost in his own thoughts like this. Yet here he was. The month in the corner from the chalkboard had changed to December. It was hard to believe that it has already been 10 days since he transferred to this school. The last vestiges of autumn had been wiped away with the turning of the calendar, and the trees in the schoolyard were nearly barren, the ground below for them hidden beneath the mat of fallen leaves. Fourth period was classics. And behind the podium at the front of the room was the elderly teacher. The elderly teacher was droning on about some topic and another. Though Souichirou had finally grown accustomed to the classroom, he was still a long way off from catching up to his contents of the classes. Since he lacked the foundation gained over years of schooling, every single class was a matter of life or death. Even if he couldn't grasp their contents right now, he intended to do so, at least memorize everything so he could make use of it in the future. Therefore, idle thoughts were absolutely inexcusable. Normally he would scold himself for losing focus when he should be busy, but aren't we all like that? No matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't make himself concentrate. But what was the source of his distraction? Compared to the mountains, winter in the city was remarkably mild, and even working every day wasn't that hard. Since he wasn't particularly more exhausted than anybody else, that couldn't be the reason. Nor was it because the class itself was tedious. Though his classmates were always complained about how boring it was, he didn't share their feelings. In fact, he rather enjoyed the time he spent here. So the problem wasn't a mental one either. The more he tried to figure out what was wrong, the more depressed he felt. What am I doing? This isn't like me. He scolded himself and turned to face the blackboard. The rhythmic slipping of the chalk lured him towards sleep, but somehow he managed to resist. Still, the fact remained that he simply couldn't concentrate. He sighed heavily and tried to sort himself out. He didn't really want to think about it, but well, it must have been because of the unbelievable scene he had witnessed last night. At the chime marking the end of class, the old teacher bowed and left. Almost immediately, all 30 students sprang up out of their desks. The clock that had slowed to a crawl around 11:30 now read 12 o'clock sharp. A laid-back atmosphere spread throughout the room. It was the sort of lunchtime, the high point of school life, and a brief respite of the stiff formality of classes. Food served in the Misaki High School's cafeteria was notoriously awful. Complaints that such negligence was unacceptable at private school went unheeded, and the same peculiar dishes clogged the menu day after day. Between the high prices and the lackluster taste, it was only natural that the box lunch faction had become the dominating power within the student body. Class 2C was no exception. The boys roughly scooted their desks together into a single long dining table, while the girls elegantly split off into cliches of 2 or 3 and started chatting amongst themselves. Neither side wasted even a second of their precious lunch. Their actions might have been different, but they both had the same goal. What do you think you're doing, man? Only Sojiro had remained at his desk, dumbfounded by the flurry of movement happening around him. It had already been 10 days since he transferred into this class, and he still couldn't keep up. Yo, Sojiro, over here! A voice called out to the boys' table by the windows. Kinomi Husuke was waving at Sojiro while leaning back in his chair so precariously that he looked like he would crash to the floor at any moment. His foul mouth and gutless now often drew criticism from the rest of the class, but thanks to his frank and open personality, nobody could say they truly disliked him. Though they did worry that he might be a little too frank at times. Come on, let's eat. I got a whole pile of spring rolls as leftovers from the restaurant yesterday. Fortunately, when my father saw them, he started going off on how I can't waste things that people give to me, so that's all I got. In short, he was begging for somebody to take pity on him and give him a proper lunch. And he and Sojiro worked at the same restaurant, and he had known each other from even before they met in classes. He was also the reason that Sojiro is now intimately familiar with the term love-hate relationship. Yeah, get over here, Sojiro. Today is a long-awaited canned food festival. So we're finally doing it, huh? Maybe we should think about this. Shut up. It's gonna be crazy fun. You'll see. I mean, that might be imitation, but there's still a lot of canned crab you can eat. It's not like some lousy mackerel, that's for sure. Really? Sweet, count me in. Is there enough corned beef for everybody? Or is it just first come, first serve? You don't. It's not something you can just knock back one after another on your own. The only first serving is any good. Only the first serving is any good. If Sojiro joins us, that means everybody gets 7. Not too shabby. By the way, Yosuke, what's with the box lunch? Looks tougher than tin cans. Usually the boys would pass the time by making fun of each other's lunches, but today they were united. By an untold number of canned goods were stacked in a pyramid in the middle of the table. Apparently they had been excavated from the storeroom in a certain student's house, and the expiration dates are scribbled out with a marker. Does everybody have their can openers already? Eating is hell, but if there are leftovers, we are fearless warriors shall conquer these metal demons, even if it means missing 5th period. Oh, and a big thank you to our sponsors, the Downtown McCoy Company and the Zhongshan Market. Oh, just can it already. The boys rallied together and hoisted their weapons into the air. Come on, Sojiro, dig in. There are plenty of can openers, if that's what you're worried about. Didn't I tell you yesterday? I'm not interested in your I'm not interested in being your food taster. Besides, I'm pretty sure at least half of those are expired. Come on, man, don't be a drag. The sudden outburst of excitement was incredibly suspicious. Incredibly suspicious. It was obvious that they were trying to reel in another victim. Still, their enthusiasm was infectious, and Sojiro found himself standing up to join them almost involuntarily. But then... Hey, not so fast. How about it, Sojiro? Want to ditch these guys and eat with us? Another party made a bid for his attention. This time was a girl with short hair and beautiful framed her... Well, that beautifully framed her features. If he recalled correctly, she had invited him to join the track team a few days ago. Sorry, I'd rather not, if that's all right. He answered her with a pained look on his face. The girl's table was covered in assortment fruits he had never seen before. What's wrong? Do you hate papaya or something? Don't worry, I've got mango, and coconut. It's supposed to be a secret, but we even got our hands on a Yukibari King melon. The other members of the fruit group pumped their fists. Wait, that's a coconut? Is it edible? Sweet, mango. Mango. If there's any left over, can I have some? You idiots, meat is all you need. Eating crap like that just makes you weak. The sudden flurry of voices was overwhelming. All I know for sure is nothing good will happen either way. But even if he said that, deep down he knew he wouldn't be able to refuse either of them. This wasn't the first time his tendency to always meekly accept favors from others had caused him to freeze up, unable to make a decision. Since he wasn't accustomed to human altruism, he didn't know when it was appropriate to turn it down. In the midst of his confusion, somebody slapped him on the shoulder. Just ignore him. Just ignore them. If you go along with every idiot here, every time they ask you to do something, you'll just end up ruining your life. It's okay to reject people, you know. And you lot. Stop trying to lead this poor lamb astray, okay? An inappropriately threatening voice boomed out of behind him and echoed through the classroom. Vice President. He turned around to see a boy standing on about a head taller than him. His swept back hair is messy yet stylish despite his shapeless features. His piercing eyes were filled with contempt. He was a flawless, handsome young man capable of captivating a room with his presence alone, the exact opposite of the perpetually dopey-looking Sojiro. By all accounts, he should have been met with his fear and respect. However, well, if it isn't Vice President himself, come to graces with his presence. I thought you said you were going to camp up in the cafeteria, so you didn't have to look at your stupid faces anymore. You are lost. Are you lost, Your Highness? This here is the slums where us idiots gather. You should be off sipping tea in a cafe with the beauties of Class A. Maybe he's here for Sojiro again. Geez, First Lady Aoko. And now His Highness Tobimaru? I wonder if he's in trouble or something. But Sojiro always follows the school regulations to a T, right? Although they're only the rules he doesn't break. Wait a minute. Does that mean Tobimaru? Don't tell me. You switched teams after you got rejected by Aoko? This was just a bit of good-natured dripping, but Sojiro felt the twang of pity in the targets from their abuse. On the other hand, Vice President himself didn't show any reaction at all. He simply glanced at the troublemakers with a bored look, and he raised his voice. I see you guys are as lively as ever. If you got that much energy to spare, joining the Special Winter Cleaning Corps should be no trouble at all. Come on! As of right now, the only person in their entire school has volunteered. Only one person, having anybody in Class 2C on board with this would be a huge load off for me and Aoko's shoulders. It was a thundering bellow, totally at odds with his clean-out features. A hush fell over the classroom. Part of it was awe toward the vice president, but mostly it was because he had uttered those forbidden words. The Special Winter Cleaning Corps. Sign up meant forfeiting part of your winter break in order to clean the old school building, which had been utterly neglected by the previous 2 student councils, and the mountain forest near the rear yard. In short, it was torture masquerading as a school activity. It would probably take 3 whole days to finish the job, and it wouldn't even have an impact on grades. In the end, it was simply thankless volunteer work for the student council. In fact, the fact that they had found even a single person willing to participate was already nothing short of a miracle. No, we're too weak for that kind of work, so we'll just go eat in the corner now, okay? Yeah, let's do. We're anemic, and if we don't eat this fruit, we'll die or something. And if we already have plans for the winter break, so yeah. Every student but one scrambled away to safety. Good, lunchtime. Good, lunchtime should be nice and quiet anyway. I don't want to hear any more complaints about the second-year class if that's noisier than a bunch of first-year punks. You morons got that? The dispersing mob hung their heads, their spirits broken. Sojiro had turned to join them, but... Hey, hang back for a sec, Sojiro. I want to talk to you. He was forcibly stopped by a hand on his shoulder. Damn it, where's the student council get off barging into people's houses and preaching about table manners? As soon as the vice president's back turned, Hosuke cursed him out under his breath. Oh, well, isn't this nice? Looks like we found our second volunteer. Better get your affairs in order before winter break, Hosuke. You're in for some fun. Apparently the vice president had good ears because he gave Hosuke a thumbs up and went for the kill. What are you going on about? It's a voluntary event, right? Even if you are the vice president, you can't force people to participate. The problem child of Class 2C laughed giddily. That was true up until yesterday. Thanks to a proposal by the president, which the school accepted, as of today, all members of the student council have authority to nominate students for participation. In particular, the nominations made by the president and the vice president are absolute. You can still refuse, of course, but there's no telling what Aoko might do, and I won't be able to stop her. Are you prepared for that? Wait a minute. Isn't that basically a death sentence? Tyranny! This is tyranny! Leaving Hosuke's horrified wall and wails behind them, the vice president and Sojiro exited the classroom. You sure got it rough, don't you, Sojiro? And you sure have a lot of free time, Vice President. The 2 boys spoke up as they entered the empty student council room. Masaki High School has 2 student council rooms. The first is a large room built specifically for student council, while the second was a material room used to be a preparatory office for the mathematics department. Currently they were in the latter, so the walls were lined with defensively packed shelves, making the already narrow room even more cramped than it actually was. Rather than the student council room, it might be better to call it a private refuge. They sat down across from each other. Tsukiji Tobimaru, son of the Misaki High School's board chairman and the vice president of the student council. He was the second-year student, just like Sojiro, whom he had met just a little over a week ago when the task of looking after the new transfer student was unceremoniously dumped on him by the student council president. I told you not to call me that. As much as it pains me to say it, I'm just the president's dog after all. His words were self-deprecating, but for some reason he didn't really seem dissatisfied. He pulled a snack out of his pocket and took a reluctant bite. The 100-calorie energy bar's convenience was counterbalanced by its flavor, but he was doing its best to choke it down. I see, but you shouldn't say that, Tobimaru. Souichirou has had a serious expression on his face. Huh, why not? You just shouldn't. It's a bad comparison, because dogs are scary. Even though you grew up in the mountains, you're scared of dogs? I'm scared of most animals, but dogs are in a league of all their own. There's nothing worse than a pack of wild dogs. Not only are they fast, they're incredibly tenacious. As long as they're breathing, they'll chase you down no matter where you run. He unwrapped his lunch as he spoke. Inside the bright green cloth were 3 beautiful triangular onigiri. I'm shocked. What do you mean? No, I'm sorry, it's just the first time I've seen an otherworldly onigiri. I was speechless. You lost me. I'm praising you, dummy. Phrases that could be interpreted as multiple ways fell flat against Souichirou. He didn't even have the sensitivity to break down euphemisms and subtle sarcasms. Nevertheless, he rarely asked for clarifications like he did just now. Tobimaru suspected he had a tendency to only follow up on things he was personally invested in. By the way, is that thing any good? It looks like a hardened stick of flour. Souichirou was staring at the energy bar, curiously glimmering in his eyes. It's not terrible, but it's not good either. Here, you can try it if you want. Humans should never hold themselves back, especially when it comes to life's 3 great desires. In one easy motion, Tobimaru finished off the bar in his hand and put another one on the table, and picked up an onigiri. It was rude, but Souichirou overlooked it and tried a bite of the energy bar in front of him. It sort of tastes like dirt. That's true. I suppose it is an example of what life should be without any joy. Souichirou grimaced, but dutifully continued eating. Not only was he interested in the unknown, he also made a point to always finish what he started. You don't have to finish it all at once, you know. The entire point of it is that you eat it on the go. Well, at least the fact that even if it doesn't taste that great, at least it's edible. And the flavor never changes. Anyway, setting that aside... How are you doing? Are you adjusting well? Yes, thanks to you and Aoko, of course. Tobimaru inadvertently looked away, unable to stomach their carefree smile. Though Souichirou seemed absent-minded, he was capable of making some stunningly honest expressions. For someone as selfish as him, it was little toxic. So that's why Aoko is always avoiding him, huh? He grumbled to himself and bit into the onigiri he had taken. The cooled rice was surprisingly tender. Wait a minute. The only one looking out for you has been me, right? All Aoko did was come up to me on the day you transferred and tell me that you were annoying and I should keep an eye on you. That's it. Why are you getting so upset? It's just that the one protecting you from the shadows this whole time has been me. All Aoko's been doing has been sitting in the student council room digging up dirt on people. It's because I've been breaking my back while she... He realized how ridiculous he was being and cut himself off. Souichirou was right. He didn't have any reason to be angry. Or whatever. If she hadn't done that, we wouldn't be here today. Hey. Why do you think she puts this role onto me? Do you know? Because you're the vice president, I guess. Tobimaru's beautiful face darkened. Hey now. Do you think it's normal for the vice president of the student council to spend all the time on a single transfer student? Damn it. You can just ask yourself when you get the chance. But then you'll understand what she's really like. He took another bite of the onigiri while muttering curses to himself. It was like the work of art, dry. Yet at the same time fresh and tender. What subtlety. This wasn't just rice crudely mashed into a ball, but the creation of a master craftsman. And this seasoning, it's amazing. The subtle flavor of soy sauce seeping out of the filling inside, doesn't it make you want to eat more? It makes it so eating more is all you can think about. Oh. Tobimaru, you know you're saying that out loud, right? Sorry, I lost myself for a minute. Hey, Soji, you gotta tell me, what filling did you use in this? He impulsively asked the unexpected flavor he detected. Incidentally, so far he had only been nibbling around the outer edges and had not reached the center. Oh, it's a grasshopper. No fucking way. He dribbled over, coughing. He had anticipated Sojo's cooking with ingredients common to the mountains instead of seafood, but grasshoppers? Why didn't you warn me before I started eating? It was so delicious, too. That was a joke. They stared at each other for a moment. No, really, it's actually salmon. Of course not. Of course it's not grasshopper. Oh, right. God, I can't believe I fell for that. After all, there's nowhere to get a quality grasshopper in this city. Sojiro had said something worrisome, but he decided to ignore it. Still, that was pretty harsh for a joke. I almost threw up. You know, that wasn't like you. Because you insulted Aoko. Sojiro closed his eyes and eventually sullenly chewed on his onigiri. That face, though. He said it. He really said it. Tobima was dumbfounded. Hey, I can't let that one slide. You're saying you were taking revenge on me for bad-mouthing Aoko? Choo-choo-choo. The silent protest said it all. Tobimar looked like he had been struck by lightning. What in the hell? Don't tell me you like Aoko. Is that it? Is that it? That's it, isn't it? Hey, wake up and answer me. He flung himself out of his chair and started violently shaking Sojiro by the shoulders. Sojiro opened his eyes and despite himself. That's right. You don't know about the tragedy that happened last year. If you did, you wouldn't be entertaining such a destructive desire. I think you may have misunderstood something, but that can wait. First, what's this tragedy you mentioned? Obimaru came to his senses with a start. After thinking about what to do for a bit, he plopped back into his seat. Fine, I don't usually like to gossip like this, but I guess I can make an exception just this once. He reassured his conscience by telling himself that all it was for the sake of Sojiro's bright future. It's a story from when Aoko was still a first-year student. Back then, we had just all entered high school, so nobody knew what her personality was like just yet. We only knew that she was incredibly beautiful. Of course, the guys were ecstatic. Little did they know their excitement would soon be for an entirely different reason. By April or May, the school had completely descended into chaos. Divisions like upper and lower classmen no longer existed. Guys were picking each other off, forming alliances, and even getting into duels. It was crazy. Just getting close to Aoko was a struggle. I don't get it. Why did things turn out like that? It's because of 100 guys were chasing after the same girl. If they all had lunch with her one by one, it would have taken months. So, they were secretly feuding to see who would get to ask her out. Well, it's fine if you don't understand. It's just a story about a bunch of losers after all. The important part is what came next. The survivors of that pointless tournament went about trying to win over Aoko. Now, she might not look at it. But she's the type that can't just ignore people's sincerity. Or maybe I could say courage. At any rate, she rejected all the guys who approached her as politely as she could. However, among them was one particular 30-year who misunderstood her courtesy. He was convinced that he still had a chance and kept coming on to her over and over again. Probably because he was a little messed up in the head. Looking back on it now, that's the only explanation. Incidentally, Tobimaru decided to hide the fact that this third-year student was actually the previous student council president. Apparently though, he didn't intrude on Aoko at school. He didn't just intrude. He went as far as following her home. I guess that pushed her over the edge because after that she snapped and rejected him in a way that I'm not entirely comfortable in repeating out loud. Ooh, kick in the face. As a result, not only did the student in question voluntarily transfer to another school, he ran away from Misaki entirely, while Aoko was forced to spend a month under house arrest. The whole ordeal was known as the Bloody Town Hall Incident. If you want to know more, ask Aoko. Or don't. If you want to live. If you really feel the need to hear about it, go to the journalism club. Their president is something of a daredevil, so he'll be happy to tell you the whole story. Tobimaru, it sort of feels like you were being intentionally vague. You got me. What can I say? Some things are scary even to the board chairman's son. I at least want to graduate high school safely. The last thing I need is some trauma that'll make me freak out every time I see our school's female uniform. Sojiro tilted his head to the side. He didn't understand what Tobimaru was trying to say at all. Anyway, setting that aside, what exactly is it you want to see in... No, what exactly is it you see in someone like Aoko? He tilted his head again, to the other side this time. Hey, are you sure you're actually like her? If you're just saying that your heart starts pounding when you see her, that's not necessarily love. Terror can cause that too. No matter how much of an airhead you are, you must have a reason, right? He tilted his head even more. Tobimaru still seemed to be misunderstanding something, but he decided to leave it alone for now. There was too many things that he himself didn't understand about his feelings for Aoko. You're right, it's strange. I don't even know her that well. It was only natural, aside from the day that they met. They hadn't talked to each other in school even once. Every time he tried, she would quickly make herself scarce. And while it was true that they had worked together at the church just the other Sunday, even that was the only idle chit-chat on the way there and back. But Tobimaru, there are other things that you don't know either. Sometimes I feel somebody's eyes on me. When I turn around, she's standing there worrying about whether or not I'll make a mistake. Maybe you're right. Maybe she just happened to see me in the hallway and wanted to make sure I didn't cause a scene. Maybe she wishes I could pass by without paying any attention at all. At the very least, the fact that she stops me and her concern is real. And most importantly, the part of Aoko has really saved me. As the words were calm and earnest, Tobimaru couldn't help but sigh in regret. If only he hadn't heard that, he could have just introduced Sojiro to a nice proper schoolgirl and let him live out the rest of his high school days in peace. Normally he would never go so far as for somebody else. If somebody is useful, exploit them. If they aren't, don't get involved. That was his creed. And yet, though he would gain absolutely nothing for doing so, he wanted to help Sojiro out. It wasn't like he was completely ignorant of friendship, of course. He was simply wasn't blessed with very many people he could call friends. So if Sojiro truly liked Aoko, then his friend there was no. As his friend, there was no way he could do something as unfriend as trying to change his mind. Unrefined. I'm sorry. Man, I guess it's true what they say. Love really doesn't need a reason. It's not true. There is one reason. When I first saw her, I thought she was beautiful. Oh? Tobimaru slumped his shoulders. That's it? After all you're telling me, you just like her for her body? Isn't it good to admire things that are beautiful? I don't think of it as strange. I don't think it's so strange to judge somebody's personality based on the outward appearance they went through such terrible present. I don't think it's so strange to judge somebody's personality based on the outward appearance they went through so much trouble to present. Something about that reasoning seemed off, but at the same time, Tobimaru couldn't argue with it. Fine, I give up. It's none of my business who you go after anyway. Now then. Throughout this entire exchange, Tobimaru failed to grasp one crucial thing. Namely, what Shizuki Sojiro felt for Aoko Aozaki. Aoko was nothing more than ordinary kindness. He didn't have any particularly deep affection for her, nor did he harbor notions of becoming her lover. That this simple misunderstanding would eventually lead to a calamity of epic proportions was something that nobody could have predicted. But let me give you just one piece of advice, Sojiro. Just because Aoko fights with somebody doesn't mean she hates them. And on the flip side, just because she's kind to someone doesn't mean she likes them. I'm a good example of that. He spoke with a heavy sigh, as if he was remembering some distant heartbreak. I see. So what happened? Basically, Aoko used to be really full of herself. I tried to hit on her. It happened about half a year ago in the summer. We had already been working together in the student council for a year at that point, so I started to see her more as a comrade in arms than a woman. So one day, without thinking, I took a swing at her. Now, I don't mean to brag, but I've got the hip rotation of a clean... I've got the hip rotation of a clean better. Okay. So I was certain... I was so certain it would be my victory. He trailed off with a far-off look in his eyes. At any rate, the next day I came to the student council room fully prepared to be treated as an enemy. Aoko was acting the same as always. And ever since we worked together as president and vice president. Sojiro sighed as Tobimaru wrapped up his story. Then with a complete and utter self-confidence. So to sum it up, you're saying Aoko's pretty great, right? He completely missed the point. Were you even listening? How do you get that from that? How do you even get that from that story? That was the decisive event that made it totally impossible for me to see her as a woman. Really? I got it wrong? But dissatisfied? What a waste. Slipped from his lips. Tobimaru suddenly revised his opinion of the boy, and he seemed simple. But there was something about him that he couldn't put his finger on. Anyway, I was just trying to say that Aoko's preferences aren't normal. Doing nice things for her won't make her like you. And doing things that she dislikes won't make you hate her. Won't make her hate you. Sojiro said he'd keep it in mind as he glanced at the clock. They'd been talking for a long time now, and lunch was almost over. So, is that everything you had to say? Huh? I didn't have to say anything. I didn't have anything to say from the start. He briefly wondered why Tobimaru had even brought him here. But quickly shook it off. There were more pressing matters. Okay then. Can you stick around for a little bit longer? There's something I wanted to ask you about. Tobimaru sat up in his chair. He'd never seen his friend wear such a serious expression before. Setting aside his half-eaten onigiri, Souichirou cleared his throat. It's about last night. He spoke solemnly, and with as much detail as he could muster, he began to recite what he had seen the night before. Alright, this is going to wrap it up for episode number 5 of Witch on the Holy Night. Yes, I am Daaro DS, and we're getting a lot of more vague tips on who characters are and what makes them tick, as we learn to appreciate Aoko more than we actually hate her, which we don't, but she's sort of misunderstood. She's got a different complexity than anybody else that I realize, but we have to figure things out first. So this is Daaro DS, and I'm going to catch you guys on the next episode of Mahoyo, Witch on the Holy Night. Catch you guys later. Peace.